Hello, 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 and welcome to the stream. It's me, Wordy Girl, and hopefully you can hear me okay. Still no camera. Hopefully next week I will be back to the camera. Thanks for your patience. Oh, that's interesting. I just saw a new pop-up on my side letting me know when an ad is about to play, which is great because I usually have no idea, and then you guys are just like, wait, there's an ad, oh no, there's an ad, and I don't know what to do. But this is a good addition, I guess. Alright. I think the ad is playing now, so I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I have to, you know. Okay, that's interesting. I did not know that. Okay. I'm going to, yeah, if you don't know who I am anyway, I'm Wordy Girl, and, yeah, you're probably thinking, what on earth is happening here? It does say that the ad break is currently in progress, which is interesting. I like this new thing. I don't know, because I just see somebody say hello. Hello, Iron is here, hello. And it's telling me that I'm currently in an ad break, but I don't know if that's true, because you were saying hello, so I figured that you were not in an ad break. Oh. I don't know what's happening here. That is not as a result of the ad break. That was my computer doing stuff. Yeah, but let me know, Iron, are you in an ad break or no? If you're not, good. If you are, curious. If you are, you're probably not going to respond to the question. So. That was your computer? The USB just scared you. No, I don't think that was your computer. Oh, you thought that was your computer? Yeah, that was my computer. Sorry about that. I know that someone is usually the jump scare, but this time it was a computer alert jump scare. You're not in an ad break because you have ad blocker. Oh wow, that works even with Twitch? Like playing video ads? That's interesting. Alright, so I think I'm ready. It says that the ad break is over anyway now. Alright, so let's see, what can I do? I need to go to my server and post today's activity. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. It's the 20th, guys. That's very surprising to me. We're officially 3/3. I mean, why do I keep saying 3/3? 2/3, 2/3, 2/3 through the month. That's what I'm trying to say. Iron says it has worked for basically forever since I had it. added to my extension. Oh, it's a browser extension. Okay, interesting. Alright, let's see. Alright. I have almost completed the thing, and then I will start sharing my screen. Alright, that is done. Yay. Alright, now we are gonna go to my World Anvil dashboard. So I have thankfully been able to catch up on a lot of these notifications I have, which is great. Lately I only have 15, which is good. I had so many before, but I have caught up on them, so I'm glad. Let's see what else. What am I doing? Let's go to my progress. So let's see. Oh, did we even post the settlement at the limits of the civilized world? No, we didn't. And I know that we were working on it. Space base. Alright, let's see. And this was just a generic one. And what I'm trying to do is make this a specific space base. I need to make this, which number space base is this? Because there's more than one. I'm going to look up really quickly what number space base it could be using my methods. Now, sometimes the fun thing that I do is, like, if it's supposed to be a number, I correspond numbers with letters. Sometimes if it's a shape, I correspond numbers with the amount of sides or points the shape has. Sometimes if it's represented best by a color, I go and find the hex code and I use that color. So there's lots of cool ways that I find a number, you know, for various purposes. Like, okay, let's just show the screen just so you can get an idea of what I mean. Right now I am just looking at a hex color picker, and this color blue kind of reminds me of, it can remind you of a nice blue sky, but it could also remind you of like tech and space. It depends. So usually I imagine like bluish, blackish, maybe purplish for space stuff. In this case, this base is lined with, it's gray for one. Yeah, so the base itself is gray. How about that color? That's pretty cool. Like, on the outside, of course, it's probably silver and black and shiny and stuff. But in the inside, it's like, you know, those corridors on the classic space movies and stuff. Where the halls are gray, and then there's like blue lines and lights and tech stuff, I guess. So I'm looking at this color right here, and I can either pick and choose out of here how I see it's A5C1C. I could take 5 and 1 out of that, but I do not want it to be like A51 because that sounds too much like Area 51, and I'm not trying to go for that. Even though it is in space. But thankfully there are other colors, there are other values that I can use for this color. There's the RGB values, so that's 165, 193, and 204. I can take these numbers and either add them together, or I can use them all splayed out like that. There's also percentages of cyan, magenta, and yellow, and all that. I don't remember. Then there is the HSV values, and there's HSL values. So there's a lot I can work with. Also, if I just want to stick with the hex number, I can literally just adjust a little bit like that, and the color still doesn't change too much for us, but the hex value is technically different because it's in a different coordinate. So now the number would be B26. That sounds pretty cool. Space B26. I like that. I probably wouldn't include this whole thing like CCD. I would just say B26, and then maybe there's some kind of extended code of CCD or something weird, you know. This is how we do stuff. Writers, you know, you can have all different kinds of ways of figuring things out, how to name things. Like, even in the fantasy world, figuring out how to name people and places in the fantasy world is so fun. I just like to mix up languages, basically. Find words that mean stuff and then just kind of splice them together. It's very fun to come up with fictional reasoning, and then when people read it, they think, oh, this sounds so official, like, wow, Edwistburg, where's that? And I'm like, oh, I just made it up. Oh, what does it mean? And like, I can come up with a whole in-world reason for why it's named that, but the reason why the author named it is because I was just looking through Old English, Old Norse, Old Greek, Old Latin, stuff like that. Excuse me. Iron says, I just use real name, then make it backwards. Yes, I've known of people like that as well. Where, especially like if it's a sci-fi world and they have a planet, and they name the planet something backwards, and it sounds like a real sci-fi planet name. But it's just something backwards. Which is so fun. It's fun. And backwards, especially in like sci-fi works. Yes, like Sunev is Venus, and it's backwards. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And if you're just looking at it and says, oh, he's from the planet Sunev, you wouldn't actually realize that it says Venus until you like really closely pay attention. Ironically, you have done that like Ruckrum, which is Mercury, of course, and you just added a little apostrophe in it. Yeah, it is unrecognizable. Like, a lot of people will say, oh, Ruckrum, like, that doesn't look like anything, especially when you add the dashes and the, you know, apostrophes and stuff like that. You know, it becomes where, unless you're really hyper focused in trying to find it, you probably won't at face value even know it. Like, if it was like, can you find the secret about this, then somebody might find it. But if you're just at face value saying it with confidence, like, you don't even like, it doesn't mean anything besides the fact that it is what it is, nobody's going to like say, hey, is that, like, they're not instantly just gonna think that. I don't think that would be their first their first comment when they're reading your story. Like, after a while they might notice and say, oh, that's a little cute little Easter egg, but it's probably not going to take them out of the story or anything. It's gonna be really clever. That's a clever move. Oh, I forgot. Now I've changed the name. So, I have to change the slug. You're secretly planning to make a lot of foreshadowing by making a drawing of, like, the armor of your character to have a specific carving. Yeah, that's good too. Like, especially when you know what that carving means, and then later the readers will say, oh wait, that's the same thing. Hey, like, that's so fun when that happens. Should I uppercase this B? I think so. Did uppercasing the B here make the slug change? That's horrible. Come on, save. Okay. It's literally the same thing, but okay. Yeah. I've also heard of some people who take words and scramble them up, like, as opposed to just doing it backwards. They, like, just anagram them or scramble the letters to make a whole new word. And that's even less recognizable than being front to backwards. Okay. This particular one should be, it is at the limits of the known or civilized world. So this particular one I want to be a research-based facility. Iron says, only problem I got with like my novels, since it's like very fantasy and then will gradually be sci-fi mixed. Yeah, there's sci-fi fantasies. Sci-fi fantasies are not new, and it's good to excuse me, sorry, it's good to mix genres sometimes. But I know you might be worried that your readers will be like, what is the book? Sorry, I needed some water. Yeah. So, does it, like, start off with, like, knights and stuff, and everybody's, like, not until 5 chapters that suddenly an alien lands down in the medieval world or something? Because then I can understand why some readers will be like, what? This isn't what I picked the book up for. But if you, like, let them know that's what it's about, I think they should be okay. Iron says, I have a long list of plans for it. Ain't no way it will not pass a million words just because how long you want it to be. Yeah. Understandable. I have lots of projects too that are very vast. And I can only show like little sections, tidbits, short stories of my work to the world because it's just absolutely too much, and I just don't have the time to write all those novels. So I've just been posting short stories about the stuff. So yeah. But like I said, sounds very interesting. Like an interesting premise of a book. Yeah, I should have a cover for this, but let's cover what this is first. Alright, B26 is a research facility. And now I have to figure out the categorization of these spaceports. Like, A should be, maybe, I mean, but it doesn't have to be A, B, C, D. B could just be something, but the fact that it is supposed to be experimentation, what does B stand for? Or it could just be a different system. Like X, I believe, the X space bases will be for containment. Most likely dangerous containment. Either the, containment of weaponry, harmful experiments, and dangerous people. And X doesn't really stand for anything, but X usually means no, or it usually means extreme, or something like that. So I think that the bases that are containment facilities would be X. XB, experimental base. Yeah, so, yeah, I see. But, yeah, I don't want X to stand for experiment. I want X to stand for caution, being, warning, being, like that. It's funny. I just think that B26 may just be standing for base 26. Like, the generic bases are for experiments and testing and research. And then like the X is for prohibited stuff. And then there could be also be like maybe observatories or something like that. And then there will be some actual espionage bases that monitor things from space. But yeah, I'm gonna just talk about how this is one of Will-O-Wisps B class space ports. B-26 keeps reminding you of B-21, U.S. new stealth bomber plane based on the B-2 Spirit bomber. Interesting. Yeah, so this one wouldn't be weapons, but yeah, I see the connection that you're imagining. In that case, it's probably the B stands for bomb. Yeah, but there will be also weapon related, weapon focused space bases here. Most of those will probably go in the X class because they are dangerous. Or if you're saying like this space base actually has weapons on it and are pointing weapons at planets and at asteroids and at other spacecrafts, that's possible. Some kind of combat spaceport. Yeah, they probably have that too. I don't know. Death Star vibe, yes. Totally. I just never know how to spell this. Is that it? I feel like that's incorrect. It is correct. Okay. Excuse me. Mm. Your novels will be very grim and dark because they are inspired by Warhammer and Star Wars. Interesting. Yeah. Um, have you ever seen the chart where it's like noble gray and then there's like, you know, all the different levels according to the character agency and the vibe of the world? Is this like a sunshine and rainbows kind of world, like My Little Pony, for example? How it can have conflicts and scary stuff can happen, but it's still very noble bright, as in um, a lot of stuff is always like happy and smiley, and there's certain things that are off limits. Like they're not going to outright just kill characters on there, or like usually when something bad does happen, they're able to reverse the effects, usually using like some kind of moral power of friendship or something like that. And that is very I think that's called noble bright, where it's like everything is mostly in a good light, and yeah, there can be conflict, but there's a difference. So like when you're reading a book or watching a movie, sometimes you'll be surprised, like, wait, that can happen on here. Like the vibes don't seem like a certain character would be able to die, or like this type of oppression or discrimination, or these issues aren't really covered, or like if they are covered, they're obviously like quickly remedied because of the world itself. But then there's lots of like grim dark. I think grim dark is when it's like totally like more on the pessimistic side, and yes, good things can happen, but bad is not off limits at all. And like sometimes characters can try and do the right thing and try to work things out, and still things don't work. I need to find that chart again. Iron says, this is another ad break is in progress. Let me see what Iron says. I can't because this ad thing is in the way. Alright, let's see. Character units called Juggernaut, which is basically massive superhuman. You could even think they are not human in your novels for several plot reasons. They're the same when it comes to they wear armor and they're very menacing and giant in size, but the thing is they are 4 to 15 meters in size and usually deployed to space mission. Interesting. And I do see earlier you did say you imagine that it could be animated if you finally reach that level. That would be cool. Like sometimes I do imagine my things animated and stuff, or made into movies and stuff like that as well. But that's why I do the writing now, because the only way I can show people what I'm doing is if I show them through the writing right now, because I cannot do anything else yet. Me trying not to give depressing backstory to almost all my characters because reasons. Impossible. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing. A lot of the... I want to find that chart. Let me find it. I'm going to search NobleBright chart. GrimDark NobleBright. Alright, Noble Grim writing chart. Alright, maybe some of these are a little different. Let's see, this one might be good. Alright. So here it is. I will share the page also to you guys. So this has a lot of explanation of GrimDark versus NobleBright. But this is kind of at the end what I was talking about. And yes, peak GrimDark is kind of in Warhammer is there, like you said. Then there's also GrimBright, there's NobleDark and NobleBright. So there's different plot points and stuff that help you to realize what your story kind of is. And like over here, it shows that all of these things have conflicts. All of these things have a lot of the similarities, but the way the world is created and the things that can happen in the world kind of are dictated by how this little chart is, if it makes sense. So you guys can look at that and see, you know, if that can help you decide. But I think you already know what your story is. Yep, grimdark, or even worse, honestly, because you're not holding back on the story. Correct, exactly. Like, sometimes I will actually have very lighthearted scenes, so much to the point where people think that that is, like my stories are NobleBright. And then suddenly something riveting will happen that they'll be like, wait, what? Huh? I thought this was... And I'm like, well, the thing is, it's a story, but I can show you different parts of the story, if that makes sense. If I want this to be family friendly, then I will show the family friendly parts. If I want it to be more dramatic or more grim, I can show the grim parts. So not that I am removing the grim parts if I want it to be for kids. I just tell the same story, but just leave out those parts if it's supposed to be for kids. Because if I focus on that and try to fix it up and change it into a now, this is a new kid thing. And the stakes are lowered. Like, no, I don't like to do that kind of stuff at all. I would just skip that episode. If this episode is something that is too dark, I would rather just skip it, knowing it happened, because I'm the writer and I know that it did happen. I will not say it did not happen. I would rather just not show you that and keep going than to play it up and doctor it up as a kiddie thing, if that makes sense. Yes, you said I will still have a scene where it'll be very lighthearted, but then bam, it changed completely depressing. Yes, one of your characters is shown with your family running to heels. And then it changed completely to a sad scene. Exactly. And that's one of the things about how since I write short stories so much, a lot of the times the people, when they see the short stories I write, they don't really know that there's more there. They're not aware that this is a whole universe that I have in my head that I'm just not able to show yet because I don't have enough time. They just think, oh, you just wrote one story about like these cute little medieval brothers when they were little kids just playing in the forest. Yes, that is. But guess what? Those guys are going to grow up and stuff is going to happen. And then they might think I changed something, or they might think I added something. I'm like, no, that was just for this kid book. I decided to show you their kid life in a section of their kid life. But their kid life also became quite depressing because of things. And yeah, so I just decide what I show depending on the audience. But my story is set, usually, in my head. Yes, a flashback moment. Like, hey, it's grimdark. Because meaning literally can go much worse than that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so no matter what genre your story is, you can have happy moments, you can have sad moments. Even if you're not writing romance, you can still have romantic moments. Even if you're not writing horror, you can still have scary moments. That's another reason why I'm annoyed sometimes by genres, and I'm confused by what I should make my book considered. What I do is, I don't know, I'm not aiming to write any one set genre. I have the story, and I write it. And what I need to do is let somebody read it and ask them, what do you think this is? Because I don't want to name something romance, and then when they get it, they expect it to be a certain way because of the mainstream romance, that is what it's supposed to be. And then when they get my book, they're disappointed because it's not enough romance for them, because that's not considered romance. Like, it has romantic instances, but it's something else. Like, I wouldn't know what to call my book. So that's the good thing about beta readers, because you can just get them to read it and ask them what they think it should be, because I have no idea. I'm just a storyteller. I'm the writer. I know what the story is. I can tell you all about the story, like there are already 17 novels published, like there have been 2 movie adaptations and a mini-series. I can tell you all about my characters just like that. Every one of my characters. I can even tell you about extras and little side characters that don't seem like they're very important. But when you ask what genre is your stuff, I say I have no idea. Because I feel like it's almost all the genres in one. And it's up to the readers. The genre classification is really just for the readers, so that they can know that if they're in the library and they go to the fiction section and they go to the fantasy section and they expect, I don't know, spells, wizards, then if they open my book and I don't really have that as a main showcase, they might be annoyed by the fact that my book is considered fantasy. So, I don't know. That's why I just have to ask readers what they think my book is. Because I guess I just know it's a story. And it also depends on how I decide to present it and what I decide to focus on that makes the story whatever genre they think it should be. It says there's literally no good or bad guy in your story, simply a story based on the perspective that the reader read. Yep. Your novel genre depends on the series. Like the early series, 1 is definitely fantasy, but the 3rd to 4th and beyond will definitely be a mix of sci-fi and fantasy. Yes, interesting as well. Because you are aware that in the earlier books, they probably don't cover the sci-fi aspect yet, but you know it's in the world. It's just that they didn't really focus on that yet. And you know that when the readers read it, they will not be... Like, if you say, this is sci-fi fantasy, and then they read the first book, they'll be like, where's the sci-fi part at? And then they might be disappointed. But overall, as a series, you can let them know that this is fantasy that gradually descends into sci-fi fantasy. Yeah. Gradually, there will be steampunk added, and then gradually advancing to futuristic. Yes, makes sense. It does. Especially if it's not like if it's spanning over time of a civilization and their evolution and their endeavors and their technological advancements and stuff like that. That makes a lot of sense. If it's just like one main character and he's the same age on all the books, but suddenly all this weird stuff is happening, that's more confusing. But I think that your book is probably focused not necessarily just on one character throughout the whole series, more of like a group of people or even different groups of people just set in the same universe. And different technological advancements are happening, and different events are happening to everybody. I feel like that's it. It's a fallen angel based on somewhat like that. It will be very long to explain. I understand, yeah, and I do have to go because I have to go to work, so you don't have to try to explain. But yeah, that makes sense also. If he's supposed to be a person who, if a main character is supposed to be following them for a long time, but they are like an immortal character or they have a very long lifespan, that also makes sense because they will be able to see different parts of time at different stages of the book. And even if it is somehow in one time period, suddenly new things are introduced, especially when it is sci-fi or fantasy, that is plausible because there could be literally in sci-fi fantasy, there could be just like everybody's normal one day and suddenly lightning strikes and everything gets turned upside down. It's now a dystopian weird world with like no power, and they have to find the alternate power source and stuff like that. So yeah, it's understandable. If even if it is following one person, that the story can drastically change because it's ultimately your universe and you can make whatever you want to happen. There is 3 factions that serve the primordial, but they were bringing down to the lowest rank since one of the primordial decided to throw them away. One is an angel, one is a demon, and one is the middle gate between them, which is what you call Titan. Very interesting story, and I can tell you have a lot of lore established. Yeah, so much success to you with those stories, and yeah, they sound very interesting. Whenever you have something to share, feel free. As for me, though, I do have to go because I have to go to work, unfortunately. So thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. We did get a little bit done, I guess. I should be publishing this article soon. Maybe I should do some things today. I have been stuck at copper for the last couple of days. Thankfully, I've got copper at least, but I'm supposed to be aiming for diamonds, so we'll see what happens. Alright, so thank you so much again. God bless, more success to you guys with all of your projects and stories. And you guys have a blessed day. Bye. I have to go to work, sorry. See ya.